What's up, everybody, man? We got some beef in these WNBA streets, man. The media and the podcast world clash. Why? Because WNBA media, mainstream media, doesn't like podcast media. They think that those in the podcast media aren't media. And, well, I tend to agree on certain components of it that, when you are a WNBA media member who has a degree, who went to school, and you do this for a living, and you follow a certain code and a certain rule of ethics and a certain rules and all that and formats and so forth. And in comparison to a podcaster, well, yeah, there's different rules. So podcasters can basically say whatever the hell they want, whatever we want, and really, unless you say some libelous be writing, but slanderous comments beyond that are untrue, like they're untrue. Well, podcasters can always flip that as it's an opinion because largely we go by opinion. But there was an article that was dropped by Brian Hamilton of the New York Times, and there's now a back and forth going on between Venom Reacts and Annie Costabile. And Annie Costabile is the national beat writer for the WNBA for The Athletic. And, well, she posted today the fascinating case of Caitlin Clark versus the WNBA. Who controls the spirit of the sport? That it's a must read column by Brian Hamilton. So there was a response. And I'm going to give my commentary on all this stuff because, well, you know, I'm waiting for the day that a WNBA mainstream media person actually says something, I don't know, truthful about Caitlin Clark and not an opinion, not a column, because columns are opinions. And if you watch objectively as to what's been going on in the WNBA for almost 3 years, going on 2.5 years now, none of it's changed. The stuff that Caitlin Clark dealt with in year one, she's still dealing with in year three. The disgust and disdain that she dealt with in year one, she still deals with in year three. And still the national media says nothing. They notice nothing because the WNBA media are all part of the same cult. They're part of the protect the brand cults because WNBA media, to me, are very much like combat sports media, UFC media, bare knuckle fighting media. I know this because I cover bare knuckle. Very much almost asked to be cheerleaders. I mean, literally almost pushed that direction. I'm not that guy because I have actual interviews with guys, but they like people to be cheerleaders and not ask real questions. The UFC has been doing it for quite some time. The WNBA does it. It's been confirmed that they will screen your question before you get to ask one, or they will just skip on over you, as the Indiana Fever does all the time in their press conferences. So, Annie Costabile posts that this is a must read. And by the way, welcome back everyone to another edition of Indiana Fever Unfiltered, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. I'm your host, Rudy Rodriguez Showman. Like, subscribe, follow, hype the video, leave your comments. So Venom reacts to Annie Costabile and this article that was published that I find to be rather pathetic, to be quite honest. I think it's a terrible article, an absolutely terrible, horrible article. But that's just my opinion. Because, as in anything, we've all got opinions. We've all got opinions. And let me pull this up for y'all. Right here. Here is what Venom here had to say in response to Annie Costabile saying the fascinating case of Caitlin Clark versus NBA, blah, blah, blah. It's a must read. And he says, actually, it's not a must read unless you think Cece is a spoiled diva that abuses her power to bend the WNBA rules at her will. New if now, I don't know if it meant new if now if Annie shared anything Caitlin Clark related, there'd be something in her in her tainting her image. I don't even know what that means, honestly. But this is the article. These are clips from the article. The rightness or wrongness of this one whistle is not entirely beside the point, but it is in relation to what's next. One of the most famous basketballers on the planet emphatically declared she was wrong, and that anyone who disagrees more or less doesn't appreciate competitive spirit. Well, Mr. Hamilton, you know who said actually almost regurgitated the exact same thing? Stephanie White did. Stephanie White actually almost regurgitated the same thing. It's competitive. It's competitive basketball. She said it's competitive basketball after she criticized Caitlin earlier, but in this particular case, she said this is competitive basketball. And I would agree. You don't agree. You don't appreciate competitive spirit if doing this 4 times is enough to get a technical foul in a professional sport. Yeah. And that anyone who's okay, the appeal will follow. Yes, the appeal needs to follow. Why? Because the appeal, I mean, Caitlin Clark said it. It's going to be appealed. An otherwise forgettable dust up. No, it's not a forgettable dust up because you gave a technical foul to the superstar of your league, who's now at 5 and is one short away from being suspended. Every other game for the rest of the season, if she gets any more. Every game, every 2 technicals after this, she pretty much will be suspended for a game every single time. And otherwise forgettable dust up becomes a test of how Caitlin Clark and a few others like her. So why not mention the few others that are like her? Why only mention Caitlin Clark? I'm just curious because when Becky Hammond spouts off, when Cheryl Reeve goes off the cuff, when Asia Wilson runs her mouth, when Brianna Stewart cries about fouls while shooting 17 free throws, where were you, Brian Hamilton? Where were you? And how others like her can bend the WNBA to her will. It also says, in the specific case of the Fever's lodestar guard, body language and behavior have overwhelmed the discourse in 2026 to a point that almost certainly testing Clark's patience. That this has almost certainly informed her take Monday. Some of it is merited. No, most of it's merited. She is not shy about articulating grievances or exhibiting displeasure on the floor. Well, do you acknowledge that she gets fouled 3 times a play? Likewise, I watched the transition sequence earlier during a Fever game against the Atlanta Dream early this season, in which Clark fairly tried to displace the Dream's Naz Hillman from her spot. Okay, so now we know. You are an Atlanta Dream fan, I presume, because it's interesting that the only game that you have seen something that goes against Caitlin Clark, in your opinion, was against the Atlanta Dream. Interesting. Hillman fairly bumped back, no foul called either way, but Clark looked like she'd been hit with a cannonball, a meal made out of a scrap. Yeah, because Naz Hillman's like 210 pounds and Caitlin Clark's about 155. So, yeah, it would look a little worse, by the way. Because without a feint of diplomacy, Clark sketched out her vision of what is acceptable in modern WNBA. An official issued a call, and she raised her hand like Neo stopping bullets in the Matrix. Full stop in her mind for whatever is happening to her this season. What is usually a perfunctory and quiet process for appealing technical fouls is now something more. She drew a line and effectively dared the league to tell her to step back from it. Yeah, I'm going to get suspended at some point because I'm going to keep being me. I'm going to keep being a basketball player. And I mean, that's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. I'm going to keep playing with passion. I'm going to keep doing my thing. And if you're going to give me a technical foul every time I take a breath, well, then yeah, I'm going to end up getting suspended. She acknowledges it. People use the juice they have. You mean like LeBron James? Like Giannis Antetokounmpo just did, forcing a trade out of Milwaukee? Like Kevin Durant has done multiple times? Like every player in professional sports does. Patrick Mahomes does it every time he skirts the sideline and tries to bait a late hit out of bounds. I mean, it goes on in every sport. I don't know why you think this one's different. This is not new. So if it's not new, then why are you so bothered? Why do you need to write an article about Caitlin Clark to disparage her as if she's some spoiled brat? She might be a spoiled brat in many things, but I would tell you right now that as a basketball player, she's worked her tail off to get to where she is. And everything that she's gotten, she's earned. It hasn't been given to her. It's not gifted. That's work. That's earned. And she's earned the right to question officiating when she's getting fouled 3 times a play and they don't call it. But go the opposite way around and she takes a breath on somebody and it's automatically called. Or having a call flip on Alyssa Thomas when Alyssa Thomas throws an elbow to her face that Clark avoids, but the elbow does hit her in the chest. Mind you, then having it overturned to be called a foul on Caitlin Clark, in fact, because she apparently bumped Alyssa Thomas, even though she actually hit the ball before Alyssa Thomas got to the ball because she beat her to the ball. Yeah, that happened last night too. People use the juice they have. This is not new. One of Clark's new WNBA peers in terms of worldwide renown, Angel Reese, plays for Atlanta, and he has a lot of Atlanta information because she decided she didn't want to play for Chicago anymore. So, did you criticize Angel Reese? Did you write an article about Angel Reese criticizing her for forcing her way out of Chicago? Because that's clearly what happened. Coincidentally, Reese also picked up her fifth technical foul. Yet no one talks about that of the season on Monday. So she's facing a suspension no time soon. And the Dreamer also appealing the call in hopes it'll be overturned. Or is it a coincidence? This is what influencers do. They influence. It only feels novel in this universe. One loud appeal of one decision, and we'll see if the terms of engagement are reset. We'll see if the most powerful players in the WNBA's player empowerment era can dictate the league as opposed to other way around and define what that looks like more than whatever. Is there anything else here? That was the last thing. So, what do you find to be so must read about that? I find that to be pathetic, actually. But now we have the back and forth with her with Venom and Annie Costabile because she says, "OMG, you caught me. Anything Clark related from me is tainting her image, 100%." I thought Brian's column highlights that officials are getting in the way of competitive moments between players on the floor. But yes, continue with this say, give me a break. You think that article highlights that officials are getting in the way of competitive moments? No. That article was a slice and dice of Caitlin Clark. Let's keep it real. That article was designed to hurt Caitlin Clark. It wasn't written in a way to talk about how Angel Reese had a temper tantrum and was crying on the basketball court. No, and nearly started a fist fight with Isabel Harrison. It didn't talk about that. It mentioned just she had a technical foul. Caitlin Clark, though, it's about how this call and her challenge to the WNBA can single-handedly reverse course of the WNBA. Like that's what you are now saying. That's what that article is saying. And of course, Annie Costabile wants to say what she's saying. Someone replied, if you think this is okay, you're really lost on the totality of the situation. Let's see if she has some responses to her comments. Okay. Here's Venom. You don't even watch the games, my good sister, but never miss a chance to criticize her. You're a Hawkeye at that, but carry on. And this is the spot where this broad here on the left probably said that Caitlin Clark should get benched. I did a video on that. Let's see. Did she say anything else? No, she's not saying anything else. Basically, he called her on it, and she's not responding. It doesn't benefit her to respond to him because in her mind, she's beneath him, even though he probably makes a lot more money than she does. Because I know for sure that writers don't get paid a lot. I've been one. I have a degree in journalism, so I know what it pays. And writers at The Athletic, well, a big part of their pay, from what I remember, because I have friends that worked there for a number of years. Heck, I think I still have one that does still work there. Is that part of their pay is based on subscriptions to The Athletic through their name. So if you subscribe to The Athletic, going through their stories, then they get a spiff off of that. At least they used to. So now I don't know how they get paid, but that was what it used to be. When they first started, a lot of the writers got paid commission off of subscriptions that went through their names. Now, let's say, I can tell you this. Looking at Venom's subscriber rate, and he's crushing it right now. He's upwards of 60,000 subs. Dude's got to be pulling in $15K a month from YouTube alone in ad rate. I mean, just by knowing the numbers, he's got to be at least in the 10 to 15 range. I'm guessing probably 15 to 20, just based on numbers, because I know what I'm making on this stuff, and it's not a whole lot, and I'm a fraction of what he is, but it's he's doing pretty well, and I'm venturing to guess he's probably pulling in more money off of YouTube than she pulls in off her job at the Athletic. So he has more influence in women's basketball than she does. But she has influence on a broader spectrum because she's with a national media outlet. And yet I've never seen her write an article that criticizes the physical abuse that Caitlin Clark receives, the outrageous officiating that she receives that's negative against her most of the time. Sitting in there listening to that girl Zena Kaida say she should be benched, but not hearing Annie Costabile say, Zena, you're out of your fucking mind. She didn't say that then because I did a video on that. She didn't say that then. But Zena Kaida said that she had a great take. And then on top of that, the fact that this guy in this article says that she comes across XYZ as a player, blah, 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 whatever, dude. Like, I don't know what basketball you watch, homie, but women complain and everything in the WNBA. Every woman complains. Now, do I like Caitlin Clark's reactions to some things? No, I don't. I voiced it. I'm going to keep voicing it. And I'm never going to stop voicing it. But I also know that I've seen all kinds of players, like Skylar Diggins crashes out constantly. Asia Wilson crashes out constantly. Brianna Stewart crashes out constantly. These players crash out all the time. Every time Angel Reese takes a breath on somebody, she crashes out. She's always looking for a call while falling down. Aaliyah Boston constantly crashes out. And when you watch Caitlin Clark get called for a technical foul for clapping after she got basically mugged. Yeah, did she foul DeWanna Bonner? Yeah, but then she got absolutely mugged by DeWanna Bonner, who then got into it with Sophie Cunningham. And then Maisha Hines-Allen's going at it with Alyssa Thomas, and Caitlin Clark is basically clapping 4 times in front of Maisha Hines-Allen. Apparently, that's a problem. That's instigating. That's a problem. But losing your shit like DeWanna Bonner does is perfectly all right. You only get 1 technical foul, just 1. So yeah, I'm gonna call out the WNBA, and I'm gonna call out that ref who gave me a bullshit technical foul, and I'm gonna call it out because that's something that NBA players have been doing forever. They call out bullshit. The coaches call out bullshit. Unfortunately, when it comes to the WNBA, like a Stephanie White in particular, she doesn't call out bullshit. She just lets it ride. At least in this case, though, she did say, I was told she got teed up for clapping, and it's a competitive sport. So yeah, there is a problem with competition in professional sports now where you get punished for being competitive. You get punished for being passionate. You get punished for being in your face type of player, which is literally what the WNBA players do all the time. All of them do it. They're always flexing. They're always looking down on players. I've seen Washington Mystics players do this over and again. Olivia Miles is literally flexing after every bucket she makes. She's telling people, get off my court. She's telling all kinds of crazy. She's talking out her ass. And people are applauding it. And I'm okay with it. But yet when it comes to Caitlin Clark, it's a problem. So Annie, yeah. What are you going to report on that actually attacks the problem in the WNBA that we see every day, that I watch on every game? And I don't just watch Indiana. I watch a lot more. In 5 minutes, I'm about to turn on the WNBA Commissioner's Cup game. And I'm sure I'm going to watch Brianna Stewart have a temper tantrum over a non-call, or AJ Wilson have the same thing. I'm sure we're going to see it. But why haven't you gone, Annie? Why haven't you reach out to these Vanderbilt players to see what's going on really with Stephanie White? Since no, maybe you're just protecting Stephanie White. Why? Why are you protecting her? This is actually your job, investigative reporting. The Pope got a damn freaking Vanderbilt player to talk, and you haven't followed up. Like, that's some shit. Really? You work for The Athletic, and no one takes you seriously because The Athletic is bullshit. ESPN is bullshit. It's all bullshit. I take podcasts that don't like Caitlin Clark more seriously than I take ESPN or The Athletic at this point because it's embarrassing. You can read all these comments right here. You know, I mean, hey, you want to promote the New York Times? I mean, you go right ahead. Anything else? I mean, an appeal will follow. Yeah, they would appeal. Caitlin Clark just happened to say it. They always appeal them. They're automatically appealed by the teams. At least they're supposed to be, because they cost their players money. But we need to stop this. You call yourself a professional media member in the national media? Well, start acting like it. It's crazy that I can never see a column that goes the other way. The columns go one way, the news articles go one way. You never see them go, yo, Alyssa Thomas threw an elbow that was clearly aimed at Caitlin Clark's head and she avoided it. After Caitlin beat her to the ball. And yeah, Caitlin did a whoop with the neck because she avoided getting hit in the face, but she got hit in the chest. And then it got reversed. Somehow. But hey, what do y'all think of this back and forth with Venom and Annie Costabile, her comments, this article? Let me know what y'all thoughts in the comments, man. But what's new? This is what it is. That's all I got for now. This is Indiana Fever Unfiltered, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. Like, subscribe, follow. You know what to do, folks. Appreciate y'all.